How's it going, guys? How all are doing? Welcome to a new video tutorial on the series of learning Socket.io on Node.js. So we are on the second one after covering the getting started and the introduction to the Socket.io, how Socket pretty much works, how a client and a server can communicate, can send back and forth messages and add event listeners for a very specific event, and how the whole architecture, the whole Socket.io structure works by just emitting and listening for events and how you can just exchange the data. Now it's time to go a little bit more deeper and dive into more advanced topics actually using the Socket.io, so we can cover more advanced things so you can use it in your applications. Let's say you want to make a chat application or something. You can just benefit from today's topic. We're gonna cover namespaces, which allow you to create a separate namespace or several namespaces. Each one is separate than the other, and also rooms under these namespaces and plenty of other things we're gonna cover on this one, alongside the connection and disconnection from a server and other things that really matters. Also, we just want to notice, or just make you notice, is that the documentation is a really great place to start by just looking at there, reading. It's quite easy to read through. I read through all of the documentation. It's very simple, very easy to read through, and very easy to understand with this code snippets things. So all you're gonna need to do, just go right there, and also the search bar is very user friendly. So make sure just go ahead and use it. You search for any problem, for anything, for any feature you want to check if it's available in the Socket.io, or you check for the implementation, how to do it, and so on and so forth. So it's quite basic, quite simple to check out. Make sure to go ahead and check the documentation, because the video tutorials aren't enough for you to grind up and to learn the Socket.io and master it pretty much. So let's just go ahead and jump into our projects. The project that we have left in the last video tutorials, I told you before. So it's quite basic. We have a server and we have a client running from server.js and app.js, just running on a command line using Node. And yeah, basic as this, no user interface or something. So now we're gonna cover namespaces. So namespaces are a crucial thing on the sockets world, on the communication world. Let's say there's a chat message, or there's you have an application. It covers many different things. It covers games. It covers news, it covers other things like sports or something. So you're gonna need to make those separate. So you don't want the sports people connected on the sports room or the sports namespace to connect or to be able to communicate with the games section, or to even check out what is going on in the game section. Either they need to join to the game section, or they won't be able to, or they won't be able to check out the news unless they need to actually authenticate or log into the news before they can check out this and that. So yeah, this is how you can separate things using namespaces. So namespaces are quite basic and quite easy. All we're going to need to do, let me just go ahead and comment the code that we have covered in the last video tutorial, as you can see in here. So also, yeah. Now for the namespaces, you have to create a namespace. It's quite basic to create a namespace using the auth method. So as you can see, the API of the software is quite basic. It's very, very straightforward. So you use the auth method, then into the auth method, you give it the namespace. And the namespace is pretty much is like a route. So if you're familiar with the APIs, and if you have worked with Express and Node.js before and HTTP requests, so you know where a route is. It's basically whenever you want to say go to facebook.com/IPNOS, this is a route. /IPNOS is a specific route, and so on and so forth. /home. So namespaces are pretty much a route, and here you give it the name of the namespaces. Make sure to append or prepend pretty much the / in order to make it looks like a namespace, and here you give it whatever namespace. I forgot about the /. Now we are under actually a namespace, then we can do whatever. So the first thing you're gonna need to do whenever you want to set up a connection is using the connection listener. So you have to make the connection listener ready for you, and you have to add a listener for it. And remember, it takes the socket. Which socket it takes in here is the socket that has been connected to the server, that has requested and has been granted the access into the server resource. So this is the socket you are accessing on, so which means that you are actually accessing the socket or the link between you and the client, and you can send events as we have covered in the last video tutorial. The very basic things right there. So as you can see now, the clients themselves, they now need to like connect to this specific namespace. Otherwise, they won't be able to see whatever we're going to do in here on this connection or whatever they were going to emit in here. So let's say like I'm just going to emit a welcome message. So I'm just going to say emit, and I'm going to say welcome right here. And I'm going to just send hello and welcome to the games area. Okay, so quite basic. Let's just go into our client application in here, since we have just, like the last time we've set up a welcome thing, and we're just gonna like, let me just change this to message to make it a little bit more user friendly for you guys to understand. Now, one thing we need to change in here is like in this one won't work because we are connecting into this route, the /, which means the main route or the whole application route, or to better say, it's the root route. So the root route like holds all the namespaces, and here since we have like configured a very specific games namespace, we need to connect to this very specific namespace. So just add in the / and give it the namespace name that we want to connect. Here we can just go ahead and connect it. Let me just go ahead and change this into games or something to make it a little bit more like specific for us to understand and to work with. Now we can connect it. We can connect with it actually easily right now. So just by saving this, let me just pull out the terminal and let me just go ahead with like server. Did I actually set up this? I can't quite remember. We have the server start, so let me just go ahead and npm run server, and let me just pull off the other terminal so we can clearly test the there's no scripts. Okay, let me just check out this very quickly. We have the start. Okay, it's not the server. npm run start, just to run the server. As you know, we need to run the server and we also need to run the client after running the server, of course. So the server needs to be running, then we connect to it. Now we can run the client just by running Node.js, and we should be able to see something right here. So we are actually added listeners and everything, and but there isn't actually nothing. So we have the welcome in here, and we are adding listeners, but it's actually not working as expected to be. We have the IO listening off and listening for the connection. Let me just go ahead and for quick debugging in here. So just like to add log new user or new clients. Okay, it's broken. I can't type. Okay. As you know, on every changes we need to like reboot the server or rerun the server, so to make the changes take effect and stuff. And let me just go ahead and run the Node.js again, and we've got new clients. We are sending the welcome. Or okay, this is the problem. So here we are using the IO, which means we are emitting to the root namespace, just the /, but here we are running the games namespace, so we need to use the socket that has been connected. This is the problem. I just totally forgot about this, as we have done like the last time. So we use the socket. So my bad in here. Let me just do that again, the whole thing again. Let me just close that very quickly. Now it should connect and we should receive the welcome message. So as soon as we will be able to run the client, and we get received hello and welcome to the games area. Now as you can see, we connect to the games area, but if you try to remove this namespace from here and try to connect again, it won't connect at all. So it would connect into this one. So if you try to pull in this listener that we have common before this, so this one would accept the connection, but the games area or the games namespace won't even know about this connection request or something. So this is how you can just use namespaces in your favor to I don't know, separate like different channels or different namespaces or whatever. You can just customize your application and make it work the way you want it to be using namespaces. So this is how namespaces works pretty much. So you just, whenever you want to access a namespace or something, you need to use the auth method and tell it which namespace you need to access. You keep track using namespaces, using strings, of course, and then you can emit or you can add listeners on, and you can image or actually manage the sockets into this very specific namespace or currently connected to this namespace. After namespaces, there becomes the root. So here, as you can see in here on the screen, there's like the structure of how the sock.io, the base structure of sock.io, how namespaces and rooms and all of those clients connected to the server are connected. So are connected together pretty much. So we have like each we have the clients, or we have the sock.io server, it's the root thing, and we have on that like several namespaces. Each namespace is connected into this server, and on each namespace we find all the things separated, which is rooms. So each namespace is divided into rooms, and each server is divided into namespaces. So under each namespace in here, as you can see in here, we can take this namespace and divide it again into rooms, so we can make people join these rooms, leave from these rooms, and each room can like have very specific sockets connected to it and chat together or something. This is how you can just like do the two people talking. So like a chat application, you need like from one end to another end, like from one client to another client, he needs to send a private message so all the two clients can like chat together. So you have to create a very specific room for them, and they can just like take or send and get messages back and forth from both each others, and so on and so forth. So this is how it could work pretty much fine. So let's just go and like set up a room. Under namespace, as I told you, you can have as many rooms as you want. Let's just go ahead and do a room very quickly in here. So we're gonna just do we're gonna list in first. So we're just gonna like we're gonna like need to emit an event, which means join room. So here we take the room name, and as you can see, this one takes a callback. So yeah. Okay, let me just scroll this quickly. So here what we want is whenever we want to send or emit an event from the client area, we want to send like which room we want to join in, and the server gonna join us to this particular room. So to join every socket to a room, all we're gonna need to do is using the join method. The join method under the particular socket, and we give it whatever name of the room we want to join this socket to. So now for the names, actually they are custom things. So like you don't need to keep track of them or something. Just by providing a name here, automatically socket.io, the library itself, just gonna take this name, create a room for you, and like after just joining one user to this room, the room is gonna be created for this, and it's gonna have the name that you have supplied. And like later on, if you want to join another client to this particular room, all you're gonna need to do is just provide the same name, and everything gonna work smoothly and fine for you. So here we're just gonna provide the room name, and very quickly now, just for keeping track of rooms, let me just go ahead and create an array in here. So just gonna be a const chat rooms or something, okay, or let's just go with like game rooms, quite basic, quite simple. Now for these game rooms, we want to just an array and have like rooms names for these games. Let's say there's a Rocket League in here. I'm a huge fan of Rocket League. I play it a lot, so just for you to know. Let's say there is like a CSGO, Counter-Strike, and there's a Battlefield 1 game. So just very, very self-explanatory. I'm a gamer too, so if you're a gamer, you're a legend, of course. So yeah, just go back now for the game's rules. We first, after joining him or before joining him, better say, is we need to check if the game that he has supplied does exist on the list. If it does exist, all we're gonna need to do just join him and send him like a success message telling him, oh great, you have joined this room, now you can chat with these users and so on and so forth. And if the room doesn't exist, just gonna send him an error message saying, oh, you can't join because the room doesn't exist. So we're just gonna use the includes method. The includes method has been introduced into the ESX, which gonna just take any string in here and tell us if it exists on this particular array or not, which means just gonna return a boolean true or false. So we're just gonna provide the room in here. If it does exist, we're just gonna join him. So all we're gonna need to do, as I told you, just gonna join him right away. So else, if it doesn't exist, all we're gonna need to do, so I'm just gonna return, and on the socket, so I'm just gonna emit like an error, and on this error I'm just gonna send no room named, and just plus the room name. So yeah, just gonna tell him error or no room named with this name. Else, if he has joined, what we're gonna need to do is emit like a success method or success event, telling him you have successfully joined this room. So you have okay. Nice. So we're telling him if either he has successfully joined the room or no. Just by checking that, we check on the list first. If it does exist, we join him and return that. Else, we're just going to return an error, and very quickly, very easily. So quite basic, quite simple. Now we need to like add listener for this particular event. That's we have emitted there. So we need to add listeners for the error. So if there is an error, what we want to just very quickly just gonna console log error, or just gonna console the error itself. Else, if there is a games.on success, so here we need to check if there is any success messages. We're gonna just take the response right here, and we're gonna console it log as well. So just gonna use the console to check out, and we're just gonna like output the response right away. Quite basic and quite simple. I told you before. Now we need to join the user. So let's just go ahead and try. Whenever the user connects, we're just gonna need to join him into this particular room. So we're gonna say games dot emit, and we're gonna emit like the events, which is join room, and we need to provide which room name. So remember, we have a couple of things in here. Let's just go ahead and say we want to join the Rocket League room, the Rocket League game, and we're gonna just see if this is gonna work or no. So yeah, this is like what is about rooms. You first check out if there is any join event or something. If there is a join event, we just need to check it. This one has been added by us, so it's not required to add it from the socket.io API. The socket.io works fine without this like constraint, without this if statement. But for your application, you're gonna need to add the custom things, custom if statements, custom check-in, custom exceptions, whatever, in order to make your application advanced and not letting everybody like get into your application or accessing whatever they want. So you need to add restrictions to your application to be able to say. So this is how it pretty much works. Just check that. We join them, we return a success message, otherwise we're just going to return an error message. So we'll just clearly just go ahead and as I told you before, each time you're going to need to like restart the server, and sometimes the embedded terminal with Visual Studio Code does actually a really bad job responding, so it just like stops working. I have no idea why. So let me just start that again, and also we start the Node.js of the client application again. And here, so as you can see, hello and welcome to the games area. You have successfully joined this room, and we get like a new client from the server side or the server console. So as you can see, quite basic in here to join the room. In order to make that looks a little bit better, what we need is after joining a room, let's say that there's another people are actually currently on the Rocket League gaming room. What we want to just notify all of the other users that a new user or a new Rocket League player has been joined into your room, and I'm just gonna say this guy has been joined and stuff like this. So we want to broadcast this message to all connected sockets. How we can do that is quite basic and quite simple as well. So we need to use the IO library instead of the socket, because this socket is just gonna like access the only user has sent this request and the only user who wants to join actually, but it won't access the other users are currently joined. Which means what we need to use is the library itself, which will broadcast to the whole thing, and we need to tell it which namespace we want to access. So make sure to tell it which namespace. Wherever you want to access a namespace or something, you can't just use the IO. Let's say like you have like use the namespace in here. Now you want to access this namespace and you want to do the on. It won't work. So you have to use the off whenever you want to specify or actually access the socket on this particular namespace. And you can do the this one, and you can now emit an event, and let's say like new user or something, just quite basic. New player has joined the, and we can do plus room, which the room name actually, just to make it quite basic in here for us. So as you can see, quite basic, quite simple. This is how we can just emit and broadcast to the all other connected users just by emitting that. But here it won't work. You know, I'm just going to use this, and we're going to emit to the whole namespace. And remember, what we want is not the whole namespace, we want the whole room. So namespaces, and the namespace itself, it's divided into several rooms. So here, instead of accessing the namespace itself, we want to access a very specific room. Then on this particular room, we want to like emit an event. So how we can do that? We can use two separate methods. We created the to method, which will broadcast to all the users, but not us, which means not the currently one. So let's say I've sent this join in room request. It will send to all other connected users but me. But if I try to use the in method in here, it will send to all the connected users to the room, including me. So this is what I want to do. You know, if you want to ask why, because I just like need to check this one and I need to test this if it works or no. So quite easily right here, we're going to say which room in here. So it's going to be the room name, and we're going to finally emit that. So let me just add a dot right there. I totally forgot about dots. And this one should work pretty much fine. I'll just go ahead in here and add a handle for this. So I'm just going to say games.on new user, okay. I'm gonna add a new user and response or something, whatever you call it. I'm just gonna console the log new user, or just like console log the response. That's what I've got. So let's just go ahead and close the server here, close the clients, and run the server pretty much again. So here we're running the server. We get the Node.js, just work for it for a little bit, and here we go. So as you can see, we've got 3 messages. The first one, hello and welcome to the games. Since we joined, then the second one, new player has joined the Rocket League. So just gonna get a notification that's a new player, which gonna be broadcast, as I said, to all people or all players connected to the same room, and you have successfully joined to this room, which gets broadcasted to only us. So you can just like take an example, better example actually, or see it in action better when you have 2 clients connected to this server, so you can just see how back and forth they works. We're gonna just like, you know, do that in the next video tutorials after doing chat messages and stuff. And we're gonna just like do a lot of things actually. And one thing I want to just cover the last is, let's say you have done something and the user actually itself requested something like, I want to disconnect from the server. He wants, like, he sends an event, I want to disconnect from the server, and you actually need to disconnect him from the server. All you're going to need to do is just access his socket and say disconnect. It is a disconnect method ready made for you, and all you're gonna need to do is just save it, and after like sending, or you can here add the listener for a very specific event. Whenever this event has been triggered, you can disconnect the user from the server. Quite basic, quite simple, quite easy. So yeah, that was actually, guys, for this video tutorial. We haven't covered a lot of things, but that was a really important things like namespaces and rooms. Hopefully you have understood them. You can just go ahead and try them. They are quite basic and quite simple, as I said. Better try them by yourself in order to understand how everything works pretty much fine, and how everything is connected together under the socket.io structure. So as I've said, guys, I will catch you all guys in the next video tutorial. I'm gonna create a chat application.